It's time for dinner.
Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong.
From the creative mind of Scott Bertelson, after 4 decades of teaching our impressionable youth,
The dinner bell.
you are invited to enjoy conversational morsels for the mind at Mr. B's dinner party.
Yeah, dinner.
Yes, it's me. Please do not turn off your Spotify. Give me a chance. Yes, it's Mr. B with, guess what? That's right. Another exuberant, that's my word, episode of Mr. B's dinner party. We are going to have the diet platter today. Oh my gosh. I'm just ribbing you. Let's have potluck. You bring whatever you want. You bring your bean casserole and your biscuits, and I will bring my vegetables and my salad, and we'll have a good time. We'll still have all the trimmings and everything that goes into a great meal. So today I have for you on Mr. B's dinner party some of my resolutions, which I don't believe in, and some wacky pet peeves, and some school remembrances. And then I'm going to talk about a classic film that I think you should see, especially if you would like to be crying and be depressed. And maybe there might be some other items too. We'll just see. So again, belly up to the table and welcome to Mr. B's dinner party. My happy friends, in the year 2025, have you been keeping track of your resolutions that you made on New Year's Eve as you were toasting in 2025? Or were they something you were done with by 2 days after the new year came in? I'm just asking because for years, I have told myself I would have a short, succinct, but yet usable list of resolutions that I would adhere to on a daily basis, and it wouldn't be any trouble, and it would enhance my life. And most of the time, that didn't last. So I have decided to come up with a list of doable, yes, I can be successful with these resolutions. And some I'm already practicing before 2025, yes, for this year that we're in. And here we go. Number 1, not necessarily in any order of importance. Drink more water. One thing I've done with my adventures with abstinence is that I have tried to definitely improve and increase my water intake because it flushes the body and it keeps you thinner, and it can also reduce your appetite, I have found. So I don't know exactly what the medical recommendation is for how many glasses of water you should have per day. I think it was 6 to 8. I think it depends on your weight. And you can get those apps that go off saying, okay, it's time to drink some more water. And then later, time to drink more water. That's irritating. I'm not doing that. So I just try to keep track of that with my own feeble mind. So drink more water, okay? Which means the soda pop is gone. I've given that up many, many years ago, except for a very special occasion. Once in a while, maybe once a month, I get a craving for a Diet Mountain Dew, and I will drink it, and not necessarily very satisfied afterwards. So why am I doing that? I don't know. Secondly, as I have been doing for quite a few years now with my eating program, eat more vegetables. Oh my goodness, I feel so much better when I've had a healthy diet of vegetables every single day, at least 8 ounces a day of salad and 8 ounces or more of vegetables. I will eat any kind of vegetable. I will say I do try to stay away from corn because of the starch. I do try to stay away from peas sometimes, but green beans are my go-to, whether they're frozen or in a can or fresh or whatever. Tomatoes, yum, yum, yum. Cucumbers, yum, yum, yum. Oh my goodness, carrots, yum. Did you notice that? I didn't say yum, yum, yum. I just said yum. So they're okay. Beets, yum, yum. I've got a rating system for vegetables. Oh my goodness. Anyway, thirdly is I want to create a doable cleaning schedule. Yes. I used to be so compulsive. Yes, me. With cleaning. Everything had to be perfect in its place. If you moved it, then I would fall apart. I'm past that now, and I've gone completely the other way. And I really don't know what the psychological or the emotional reasoning would be behind that. But I'm at a point now where I don't know if I should start with one room or just do a little bit in each room. But I need to set a certain amount of time that I can do this instead of just saying I'm going to clean for a week from 6 in the morning until 9 o'clock at night. That's never going to happen. So why would I even say that? So I need to adhere to maybe just so many hours a day, a couple times a week. And that surely would be getting much more done than I'm getting done now. So it's got to be doable. It's got to be reasonable. I don't want to work. I used to do that with cleaning. I would work, just furiously work. And then I was completely drained of any kind of life the next day. And that's not having any kind of balance. So I want to do that. Another one is to do more of a hobby. Right now, my hobby would be my podcast and my radio cast and walking and subbing. I guess I would call that a hobby. And travel. But I think there's so many other things I could be doing. I could be doing crossword puzzles. I could be doing jigsaw puzzles. All I have to do is get a table, and I could still watch television or listen to an audiobook or whatever, and work on a puzzle, because I hear it's really good for keeping your mind sharp. And I want to do that, and I need to do that. So I've been thinking about doing that. So we're going to think about that. Another one is to have a workout routine. Now, my workout routine is that I have a cup of coffee in the morning, and then I go walking for normally an hour in almost any type of weather. It has to be adversely dramatically cold before I will not go out, and I will not walk in the rain. I have, though, at times with an umbrella, but if it's a heavy downpour, forget it. So that's my routine. That's something I do, and that makes me feel really good physically, emotionally, psychologically, all of the above. And so I'm going to continue doing that, and I'm going to encourage you to think about having a workout routine. And I thought about joining a gym and, doing the cardio exercises with the machines. And I'm just not interested. I just am not. I guess I'm just grateful that I have really kept my weight down through my food choice and my exercise. Could I push myself more with my walking? Yes. Could I elevate it more? Yes. Could I break into a sweat more? Oh, yes, I could. But I don't always want to do that. So, okay, maybe I'm not losing the inches, the fat, as fast as I could if I would do something different with my walking. But I'm okay. I'm just okay. I'm also going to schedule more breaks from social media. I do not need to be on Facebook looking at silly stuff which personally I think Facebook is largely silly, but yet I look at it, and I never used to. And now I find I can look at it for an hour and it passed by and I'm like, what have I just done? I've done nothing. Just sat and looked at this. Why? Did I learn anything? No. So I'm just not going to try to look at it in the morning or in the afternoon or get on my phone for any kind of reason unless I really have a reason. Yeah, if I had to do a text or call, that's fine. But I just don't feel I need to do that because I feel it's rotting my brain. So there you go. I need to also clean out my wardrobe. I got way too many fat clothes and they got to go. They need to go to Goodwill or they need to go to the landfill or they need to be put out for a yard sale, which, by the way, folks, I am never going to have a yard sale. You think I'm going to sit in my garage and bicker with somebody if they don't want to pay 50 cents for a pair of pants? I don't think so. I'm not doing that. So anyway, I also, in terms of social media, I want to increase actually calling people instead of texting. I think texting can be so highly misinterpreted. I think it's better to do a phone call or the FaceTime thing. That's very helpful too, to try to do that. Let's see. I got a couple more. Oh, I think I want to do more free reading. Try to pick up more novels. I see all these people on Facebook. Here I am looking on Facebook, listing all the books they read every month, and I'm very, very impressed. And I just can't seem to, or I choose not to, whichever is the right answer there, to get the reading done of fiction that I would like to. But I want to change that. I want to try to read at least one book a month, maybe two, of works of fiction. I prefer fiction. And I don't think that is something that can't be accomplished. I think it can be done. And I know I can. And my last one is I want to do more journaling. Journaling is such a great skill for my program when it comes to being an overeater because you can write down things, let go of things in your writing because harboring resentments and jealousy and anger, of course, for me, leads me down the path of overeating. So it's better to just get it all out, express it, and then if you feel like you need to express it to somebody, that's fine. Or most people say if they do the journaling, then they're happy and they're doing well because they have got it on paper. And then you save it or you get rid of it, whatever you want to do. So just a suggestion, not any certain way of doing it. Just get the pen to paper. So anyway, folks, that's my list of my New Year's resolutions for 2025. And I will periodically, if I remember, which I doubt, to let you know how I'm doing with these. And if I am actually implementing, some of these I have already implemented, these changes, but some I need to get started on. And I won't necessarily all try to get them done every single day. I will just try to add a few more chocolate chips to the cookie batter, a few at a time, and stir it in and see what happens. Why am I using a cookie analogy? I don't know. So there you go, folks. If you want any more explanation of that, please do not contact me.
Let's lend our ears to the wacky observations of the world, according to Scott. Mr. B's wacky, 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 wacky world.
My fellow chronic complainers, let's look at some of the issues dealing with winter in our segment of a wacky, 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 wacky world. Oh, I've shared so many pet peeves with you. Now, you might be saying to yourself, how can he have so many pet peeves, but yet he's turned his life over to a higher power and he loves people and he's not harboring resentment. Well, that doesn't mean things that still don't make me mad. I allow it to happen. I know. And do I get past it fast? Yes, I do. But it's still a pet peeve. And I'm human and I don't find everything to be agreeable all the time. So there you go. Nah, 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 nah. So what are some of my pet peeves about winter, even though I choose to live here? Because I could be a snowbird and I could go south in the winter and live in a condo or something for a few months while you are freezing to death here in northern Iowa. And I could be enjoying the balmy breezes off the ocean. But no, I choose to stay here. So, number one would be the shorter days. My goodness. When I used to teach, I'd go to school in the dark, and I came home in the dark. I never saw light for months. And it's a good thing that I'm rather nocturnal anyway. And so I do like darkness. Don't take that in any kind of psychological way. But I always take my vitamin D. But instead of having the blaring sunlight in my face all the time in the summer, of course, that doesn't always happen here, but the shorter days do get to me a little bit because it just seems like we're engulfed in darkness even during the day. So that bothers me a little bit. The next one would be the hibernation. Now, don't get me wrong. I really like my alone time. I really do. And I'm not lonely. I am very happy with that. But sometimes, especially if we have blizzards, you can't get out for a day or two. And then I start crawling up the walls a little bit. And that's a little bit too much. And I need to get out, breathe the fresh air, do something. So hibernation gets a little overrated. Also would be the crazy changeable weather that we have. I mean, one day it can be in northern Iowa. We all know this. We've all lived it. It can be really cloudy and be cloudy for days, or then it can be foggy, and then you have ice the next day, and then it rains the next day, and then it snows, and then you'll get 5 to 10 inches of snow maybe, and then it'll rain and the snow will dissipate, and then it changes. You never know how to dress. You need to take like 3 or 4 different kind of jackets with you just to know what will be the actual temperature that day. So that gets a little old. Of course, we have that in the spring too, in the summer and the falls, but it's what it is. The other thing that drives me crazy about winter are people who wear shorts. You know, when I student teach, I bet. When I sub, or when I used to teach full time, in the dead of winter, you would have students wearing shorts, and it's 25 below wind chill factor. Wearing shorts! And it's probably because I'm jealous of that, because I'd like to myself, but I know that I just can't take the cold like I used to with the advancement of age. But I just think that it's such a health issue that you shouldn't be wearing shorts. I don't know why a parent would even allow their child to walk out of the house with shorts when it's below zero, but I'm not going to pass judgment. What about the winter driving? Oh my goodness, I was just watching the news about this big snowstorm in the southern part of the United States, and they showed video of all these semis jackknifing, is that the term, and barreling off the road because they were going too fast on these ice-covered roads, and cars crashing into each other. And, you know, if we would just slow down and not tailgate and not be on our phone. You heard it. Get off that phone when you're driving. Oh, my goodness. Just go with the Bluetooth. Do that. So I think a lot of these crashes, actually fatalities at times, unfortunately, could be avoided if you would just slow down, set aside more time to get to where you need to go, And don't tailgate somebody because you can't slow down. And don't stomp on your brakes. Oh my goodness, didn't you learn anything in driver's ed? You're supposed to pump your brakes. Yes. And that will help you to slow down. And my final issue with pet peeves and with winter pet peeves, and I know that I could do something about it. I could buy an apparatus for $500 to start my car from the comforts of my living room, but I'm not going to spend that kind of money on that. But waiting for your car to warm up, that there's nothing that's more devastating for your body is to crawl into a car that is nothing more than an icebox. And so it's important to try to warm it up, I think, for you physically and also for the car, of course. But sometimes you got to wait a long time, especially with this thick amount of ice on the windshield because you were lazy and didn't park the car in the garage. I don't know who that would be, but you want to do something useful in the house. Paint a room or put down new carpet while you're waiting for the car to warm up. But it is really important to get that done. So those are just some of my minor irritations with winter. There are many positive things about winter, and if you could think of one, let me know. But again, I know I choose to stay here. I get that. So I guess I'm just going to have to put up with it. But please, if you see me going down the road, don't tailgate and get off your phone. And please wave at me and give me a look of, I think you'll survive. Thanks.
And now, School Days with Mr. B.
For my school days remembrances, I thought it would be fun to just quickly look at some of the funny things kids say. And I think there was a TV show that was called that. Something to that effect. But anyway, I digress. And these have been said to me when I taught full-time and now that I've been subbing for a few years. One is, I'm going to tell you, folks, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I wear a hairpiece, and I have for close to 10 years. And there may come a time when I don't. There may come a time when I will change it, but I selfishly enjoy it for myself. And I do think it looks good on me. And you might be aware that it's a hairpiece. They're called a unit, by the way, a unit. Or you may not. But nevertheless, many times you cannot fool a student, whether they're in elementary or middle school or high school. And so they will blurt out the question, are you wearing a wig? And you know what, folks? I am always honest with them. And I say, yes, I am. And they'll want to know more about it. Like, do you ever take it off? Is it stapled to your head? Which it isn't. What ways that you take care of it? And they always seem to say that they like it. And that's fine. And so I'm honest about it. But it's just a funny thing. Why would you ask somebody if they're wearing a wig? So there you go. Here's another one, too. If a student, and I found this true when I taught full-time, I guess, more than the subbing, is if a student is gone for a day or 2 days, almost invariably they will come in and say, did we do anything in class yesterday? No. I took the whole class out and we played charades in the cafeteria because you weren't here. So why would we do anything? I mean, really? Of course we did something. Did we do anything yesterday? Oh, my gosh. Here's another one, too. Do you know, Mr. Bertelson, are you related to Donald Trump? Because you look like him. I think that's because part of my hairpiece. No, I am here today to tell you I am not at all related to Donald Trump. So I don't know Donald Trump personally. I've never talked with Donald Trump. And I surely do not Facebook or instant message or text or get on Twitter with Donald Trump. So, no. But I guess if you think I look like him, okay, whatever. Here's another one. They say to me, you know what, Mr. Bertelson? Have you ever seen that movie Up? I think that was a Walt Disney film, animated film a number of years ago. You remind me of the grandpa in that. And you know what? I looked at that picture. I brought it up on the internet, on the computer, and they're right. I do. But it's just, I just find it very, very funny. And my final one for today, and I'm sure there are many more, but they'll say, how old are you? And my response is, well, actually, you should state, how young am I? And when I tell them, depending on the year that this question is asked, say, for example, I would be asked now, and I would say, I'm 66. They give me this look like, well, you must be a corpse. Are you the Walking Dead? Are you a vampire? Well, I don't think so. I don't think I can answer yes to any of those. But they don't have any concept of age, nor did I at that age either, I guess, whether it's middle school, high school, or elementary. But when I was that age, I thought if I reached 30, it would be a miracle. And I'm well past that, and it certainly has been a miracle. So that's just a few of the funny things that kids have said to me over the years, and you just have to take it, as a cliche goes, with a grain of salt. And that's actually part of the appeal of why I like subbing, because I get to answer these questions and just be honest about it. And they'll be able to detect if you're not being sincere. So that's what the 66-year-old is telling you, who's wearing a hairpiece, that yes, we did do some work in class yesterday, and I'm not related to Donald Trump, and I was not in the movie Up.
Don't you forget this.
Let's have a seat round the proverbial table
Would you like to say grace?
with a nod to our higher power and Mr. B's spiritual journey.
Spiritual friends, now that the holidays are over, and I remained abstinent during that time, only thanks to my higher power, I have been working with one of my sponsees on his 4th step inventory. Now, I've gone through and shared with you the 12 steps, which is really a blueprint for life for me as a compulsive overeater, which also worked for gambling, drugs, any kind of addiction. And one of the requirements for sobriety in this program is that you have to do a moral inventory. And this is truly, truly important to do, because you need to come to grips with the reasons why you overeat or drink too much or gamble too much or take narcotics or whatever it would be, because you're using that as a tool to cover up something. So this is what I did. I did my moral inventory, and then I shared it with my sponsor. And I think we did this over like 2 or 3 days. And my sponsor did not offer any advice or did not press any judgment on me. Nothing like that happened. I was completely 100% honest with my sponsor, as I am today. And I found that once I gave away those defects of character, that I virtually also lost my desire to binge. Yes, it's a miracle. It's a spiritual thing, but that's what happened. And I have to revisit at times my fourth step and find out if I have changed in my viewpoints about the areas that you need to concentrate on. So, the first area that I'm going to talk about today, and then I'll talk about the other two coming up in upcoming episodes, would be resentments. As I've told you many times, resentments were the major catalyst for my overeating, my binging. I could become instantly resentful of the smallest thing for some reason. And I would use that as an excuse to run to the grocery store to buy a gallon of ice cream. And did I still have the resentment the next day? Yes. And I also was fatter the next day too, because I could not put together that food was not going to save me. Food was the excess food, my poisonous food, was going to kill me. And there had to be a different way that I had to list all my resentments and deal with them. So if you're truly thinking about doing a moral inventory, you have to, first of all, list all the people, places, things, institutions, ideas, and principles that make you angry or resentful. Now, that can take a lot of time. Let me repeat that. List all the people, places, things, institutions, ideas, or principles with whom you are angry or resentful. You have to list them all. Now, there's probably not anybody out there who hasn't had a resentment against a person or a place. And so then on your paper, you would, in that column, write down every one, every single one. And that could take you days, weeks, maybe just one sitting. And I went through all of mine with my sponsor, expressed all of them, and I have found some of those have crept back into my life. And so I have to, again, analyze why that resentment is still with me. I must be getting something from that resentment, or I wouldn't be experiencing it. So then once you've done that, then the next step is you list the causes. What caused that resentment? What happened? Be specific as to why you're angry. For example, your boss, if you list him as or her as a resentment, what is it that happened? Does the boss treat you as inferior? Does the boss not appreciate you? What is it? You need to write it down. Write it down. Be completely honest. Nobody else has to see this. Nobody else has to hear this except your sponsor. But you do have to share it. So, whether it be a boss or a relative or a spouse, what's the cause? What ideas do you have that you think are causing you to be resentful? Then the third column, if you've done all that, is how does your resentment affect how you feel? How does that resentment make you feel? Does it make you feel angry, unappreciated, depressed, lonely? What is it? You have to figure that out. So if you list 25 resentments, you have to have 25 of how does it make me feel? And they may be different. For example, my resentment against a person, which I'm not happy to say that I've had, but I have had that. I admit it. That way it makes me feel could be quite different than, for example, how a place I've been to makes me feel. Maybe a place I've been to, I'm resentful because, say, it's a family gathering. That's a place, I guess you could call it that. And I'm resentful because I feel lonely. I feel left out. That's different from some other resentment. And the last item you need to look at when it comes to this is, where was I to blame in this whole scenario? Where was I to blame? Not the other person, not the place, not the thing, not the situation, not the idea, but you. Because you can't change a person, another person. You cannot change that ever. But you can change yourself with the help of your higher power. And were you to blame because you didn't give this person a chance to appreciate you? I'm just throwing out scenarios. Were you to blame because you thought you were better than this other person? Were you to blame because this other person seemed to get more notoriety with something than you did? What is it? Be honest. Get to the core of it. Be honest with yourself. Once you do that, and have asked yourself, what could I have done differently? And what was my fault in this scenario? And you express that, a miracle could occur. A miracle of total acceptance of everybody and everything around you. Can that be achieved? I think it can. There's no reason to harbor resentment because the only person you're ever hurting is you. You. And if you want to have self-loathing for yourself, then just keep piling on those resentments. But it's doing no good. So just to recap, for resentments, for an inventory, you list all of your resentments. Then number 2, what caused that resentment? Why are you so angry about it? Number 3, how did it affect you? How did it make you feel? And fourthly, what was your part in this resentment? What was your part? And the purpose of a step 5, where you express your inventory or make amends to people, is not for them to say, oh, I forgive you, I love you, I know you're not perfect, but it's okay. You may never hear that from the party that you've offended. You may not. But that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it to clean your side of the street. To say to your higher power, I was wrong. I was wrong. I'm not blaming anybody else. I'm taking ownership. So next time, we're going to be looking at fears. And then we're going to end with looking at sexual conduct. Those are the 3 main areas that you have to focus on to do a 4th step. Takes time. Takes energy. Takes being humble to say, here's my life. I own up to it. I take ownership of what I've done. And now I'm going to do something different with my life.
For the next course, come one, come all. Nothing spoiled here. From comfort classics to what's hot now. Film reviews from Mr. B's Rewatchables.
Who's afraid of the big bad wolf? Big bad wolf, big bad wolf. Now, we all know that song. Sang that on the playground, sang it in elementary. But there's a variation of that. That's the title of one of my favorite go-to films that came out in the 60s. And the name of the film is Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, who was an English author. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, a 1966 drama that was directed by Mike Nichols, one of our standout movie directors, and this was his debut as a director. It was based on a play written by Edward Albee in 1962. The film starred Elizabeth Taylor as Martha, Richard Burton as George Siegel as Nick, and Sandy Dennis as Honey. And the theme, I think, of this tragic story, I mean, utterly tragic story. This is not a feel-good film, folks. No. So you might say, well, then why would I watch it? Why would I watch 2 hours of 4 people bickering and fighting and carrying on like they were children? Because the acting is phenomenal. And the theme, I think, is so needed, which is humans, I think the theme is, must learn to live without the idea of illusion. ILLUSION. You have to live in reality. You have to keep your feet on the ground. You cannot let this life of illusion run your life, which unfortunately happens to especially the character of Martha and George, played by Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton.
So that's what you're after, is it? What are we going to have? Blue games for the guests, huh? Everything in its place, Martha. Everything in its own good time. Drinks now. Drinks for all.
Let me give you just a little synopsis of the film. George is an associate professor of history at a small New England college, and his wife, Martha, the daughter of the university president, return home drunk for a party. This all takes place in one night. Martha has invited a young married couple she met at the party. The guests arrive, Nick, a biology professor, and his wife, Honey, just before 2:30 in the morning. As the four drink, and there is excessive alcohol use in this film, Martha and George engage in back and forth scathing verbal abuse in front of Nick and Honey.
He was intercollegiate state and middleweight champion.
Honey.
Well, you were.
You still look like you have a pretty good body now, too. Is that right? Have you?
Martha, decency forbid.
Shut up.
The young couple, they don't know how to respond to this. Martha really angers George by telling Honey about their son, who will celebrate his 16th birthday the next day. Martha's divulging of this information sets off another fight between the two, and the women leave the room. Alone with George, Nick confesses that he was attracted to Honey for her father's money, and married her only because he mistakenly believed she was pregnant. George describes his own marriage as one of never-ending accommodations and adjustments. George also tells a story about a boy he grew up with who had accidentally killed his mother, and years later, his father and him lived out his days in a mental hospital. Nick admits that he aims to charm and sleep his way to the top, and jokes that Martha would be a good place to start. When the guests propose leaving, a drunken George insists on driving them home. They approach a roadhouse, a bar, and Honey suggests they stop to dance. Well, while Honey and George watch, Martha suggestively dances with Nick while continually mocking George. George finally unplugs the jukebox and announces the game is over. In response, Martha alludes to the fact that he may have murdered his parents, like the protagonist in his unpublished novel. prompting George to physically attack Martha until Nick pulls him away. George comments that since they've already played, quote, humiliate the host, unquote, they should try playing, quote, hump the hostess, unquote. He also mentioned that he's written a second novel about a teacher and his wife who married because of her false pregnancy and family money. Another argument leads Martha to drive off with Nick and Honey, leaving George to make his way back home on foot. He arrives to see the silhouette of George and Nick together in the bedroom window, and Honey distraught in the front yard. Though Honey's drunk and babbling, George begins to suspect that her pregnancy was real, in fact real, and that she probably secretly had an abortion. Inside, Martha accuses Nick of being sexually inadequate, which she blamed on the large amount of liquor he has had. When they're together again, George and Martha resume talking about their son, with each making lurid accusations about how the other negatively affected him.
George, tell them about it.
You tell him, Martha, you're good at it.
George finally ends the back and forth by dramatically announcing that he received a telegram saying that their son has been killed in a car accident. As Martha begs George not to, quote, kill, unquote, their son, Nick realizes the truth. Martha and George had never been able to have children and filled the void with an imaginary son. George explains that their one mutually agreed upon rule was to never mention the son to anybody else, and that George, quote, killed, unquote, him because Martha broke that rule by mentioning him to Honey. The young couple leaves at dawn, leaves George and Martha alone. George starts singing, "Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?" And Martha responds, "I am, George, I am." Well, the two hold hands. An absolutely devastating night of people exposing themselves and people not wanting to live in the world of reality. Again, I come to this film about once a year because the performances are so powerful. And Elizabeth Taylor won her second Oscar for her portrayal of Martha. She was, at the time, 32 years old, and Martha is supposed to be 52. So she gained 30 pounds and had prosthetics put on her to make her look like an older, overweight woman. And it is so vile, the things that George and Martha say to each other in this film. And you constantly are wondering, are they going to stay together? Why do they stay together? And what's the deal with this imaginary son? Well, that goes back to that we cannot live in a world of illusion. They both created this son in their minds because they couldn't deal with the reality that they probably couldn't have children. And so it was a secret. It was something they were just going to keep. But then it got out. And then George said he has to be killed. Now, what happens to this couple as the sun is rising at the end of the film? It's hard to say. Do they stay together? Separate? Do they continue to live in a world of illusion? Do they start accepting reality? Do they truly love each other? You're never told directly, and I don't think you should, because it's something for you to consider as an audience of what these two middle-class Americans did to each other. Why did they destroy each other for years, but yet lived in the same house?
Weren't you frightened just for a second?
I don't remember.
Oh, now I bet you were.
Did you really think I was going to kill you, Martha?
You kill me, that's a laugh.
Well, now I might someday.
Martha is terrified to live life with the idea that her child is dead. Will she be able to overcome that at the end of the film? We don't know. So, this imaginary son, I think, represents an attempt to conform to the norms of a family today, which is you have to have a child. In order for you to be a functioning couple, or especially at this time the play was written in the 1960s, you had to have a child or children in a marriage to be functional. And they were far from dysfunctional. They were very dysfunctional. And the excessive use of alcohol, of course, played a major role in all of this, because then their true selves came out. And as you watch this movie and they gather at the home, it gets much more violent with the language and the physical attacks, and ends in this point of the killing of their imaginary son. It won a number of Oscars. As I said before, one for Elizabeth Taylor as Best Actress. That alone is a reason to see this film. I consider Elizabeth Taylor one of the greatest actresses of our time. But this, I think, is far and above her best performance ever as playing Martha. Sandy Dennis won for Best Supporting Actress. It won for Best Costume Design, and won for Best Cinematography. So if you like plays that really have been transformed into wonderful movies and tear apart the human soul and deal with true emotions and deal with the world of not living or accepting reality, this is something you want to see. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? And as Elizabeth Taylor says, I am George. I am. So there you have it. Today I've shared with you some of my New Year's resolutions and some of the funny things that kids say to me or have said to me. Why winter is a downer. And then I switched to talking about doing a moral inventory of your resentments when it comes to your eating disorder. And then I end with the highly non-comedic film, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? But, okay, a mishmash. I get all that. But that's what my show is. It's a mishmash of things. And maybe together, next time, I will take a stab at a TV show or some more poetry. Or I might read a prose story. You just never know. That's why you need to keep coming back. And that's why I like doing this. And I hope that you have a great week and you enjoy your life and appreciate your higher power and appreciate the fact that you have been made in the image of your higher power and that you are a decent, worthwhile, loving person. From one loving person to another, I say goodbye and enjoy your life.
Mr. B's Dinner Party is hosted by Scott Bertelson, edited and produced by Troy Thompson, recorded and distributed at Sunnyside Farm Studios. Music is provided by Soundstripe and platformed by Buzzsprout. Like our page on Facebook, subscribe so you never miss an episode, and share with your friends. Listen and enjoy every other Wednesday, Conversational Morsels for the Mind. on Mr. B's dinner party.